3:39 on ESPN 1530. This is really cool. You may have seen announced in October that the movie Johnny Longshot is going to be filmed here in Cincinnati. It is a movie about a retired Cincinnati jockey making a comeback through harness racing. It will star Emilio Estevez, who is going to direct it. It is his screenplay. He is here in studio with me, along with one of the producers, Lisa Niedenthal, and Kristen Irwin from the Cincinnati Film Commission. It's nice to have you all in studio.
Thanks. All right. It's our pleasure to be here.
A bona fide movie star here with us, which
Where?
is large. Right here.
Where is that?
Here with us. I don't think we've ever had a bona fide we've had people who have appeared in movies.
Got it.
We haven't had a bona fide movie star. Well, welcome to Cincinnati. You spent a lot of
Thank
time
you.
here.
Well, I have recently.
Right.
My mom's also from Cincy,
Right.
and my dad was born over in Dayton.
Right.
So yeah, my Ohio roots run pretty deep.
So you went to the Bengals game on Sunday.
I did. Yeah, they crushed them, didn't they?
Crushed the Giants.
Great game to be at. Now I'm told that I need to come back for every home game.
Yeah, and
I'm
you
sort
know
of
what?
like the good luck charm, right?
Here's the thing. I have now not attended 5 games in like 12 years. They've won all 5. I need to not go. You need to be there.
Deal.
So I'll give you my tickets.
All right.
You mentioned your Cincinnati ties, and your mom from here, your dad obviously from Dayton. The movie is going to be filmed in Cincinnati, based in Cincinnati. The
right.
screenplay is about a Cincinnati jockey. Is that why you centered everything around our city?
Well, the film deals with horse racing and specifically harness racing, and I think if you're going to do a horse film, there's no denying that this is sort of the epicenter of horse racing in America.
Sure.
Ohio and Kentucky. So this, as I said, focuses on harness. There are some big giant set pieces that take place during the film, and they're really Cincinnati and Ohio specific. For instance, there's a sequence in the movie where our guy gets dragged across the finish line in a broken harness.
Right.
And the headlines are, because people snap the photos of it, and it's a disaster, and he becomes a cause celeb out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the headline says, "Hang on, Sloopy." So you're not going to get that anywhere else. It has to be here.
Right.
So it becomes kind of a Wild Thing moment from Major League, my brother's film.
Right.
Every time he shows up at the track, the people start. The bugler says, starts playing "Hang on, Sloopy." People
Right.
are singing it, and then there's a big sequence where he gets to throw out the opening pitch at a Reds game.
Yeah.
And the organ player starts playing "Hang on, Sloopy," and 40,000 people are now singing the song.
Wow. Now that's a big Ohio State thing. So
I understand.
You're going to have a cell job
I
like
understand.
University of Cincinnati people, so they're going to have to play along.
But it's an Ohio moment,
Right,
And
right.
and it's state pride.
Right. All right. So you've toured. Now, give me an idea. I know you were at Great American Ballpark. Sort of
That's
had
right.
a press event
That's
at the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum.
That's right.
What other parts of town have you been to as you've sort of gone through this process?
Well, gosh, we've been all over the place. We've
Yeah.
been looking out in the Mount Washington area. Kristen's been kind enough to be our chauffeur
Yeah.
and guide throughout the greater Cincinnati area, and I've seen quite a bit these last couple of trips.
And I do want to talk about that with Kristen and Emilio, and obviously Lisa. You could speak to this as well. I have never seen a film. I've never seen a movie get shot. I've never seen a film get shot. I know Cincinnati, we had Ides of March. I think going back about 15, 17 years ago, we had Milk Money with Ed Harris. So movies have been shot in this area, big budget pictures, smaller projects. I guess, and this is going to sound like a really dumb question, what does it do for the locals when all of a sudden here comes Emilio Estevez and a Hollywood crew to film something like this?
Well, the point is, it's not going to be a Hollywood crew. We're going to
No?
bring 5 or 6 people from L.A.
Wow.
or New York. The idea behind this one is we want to make sure that enough locals get a chance to be a part of this, both in front and behind the camera.
Okay. So how would somebody get involved locally that is listening to this and goes, all right, that sounds, I'm in. How do I be a part of that?
Well, I can speak to that.
All right.
First of all, if they're interested in being an extra, that's something that these racing scenes are going to need a lot of extras.
Right.
And, after the first of the year, as these people come back to town and start gearing up for production, there'll be a call for extras. And any updates that they need will be available at the Film Commission.
Okay.
So we recommend people like our Facebook page or visit our website at filmcincinnati.com. And we will make sure that everyone has that information at their fingertips because we want the entire community to embrace this project and to come out and watch the filming.
It's a great way to make the city look good. Talk about it from a financial aspect. How much coin do we get when something like this is done here?
When movies come to town, movies spend money and movies employ locals. And in the past, we've had a lot of movies come to town and a lot of that bill goes towards our hotel nights. And while we want to put heads in beds as part of our mission, what this is really going to do is employ a lot of locals. And so the payroll numbers on this film are what we're excited about because it's putting a lot of Ohioans to work. And, a number specifically I can't say, but I will tell you that after working with both of these guys, it seems like over 1,100 people are needed on this film alone.
Wow.
And if this film has some great traction, then that might lead to other films in this series also coming back to Cincinnati. So we're talking about sustainable jobs right here in the community. And that's
Yeah.
both for actors and for the technical and industry related people that want to work behind the camera. And there are a lot of them here.
Lisa, you mentioned off the air you're from up the road in Indiana.
Yeah,
right?
Brookville.
Brookville, Indiana.
Mhm.
So it's got to be kind of neat to sort of come home and get a chance to do this here.
It's great. We used to
Right.
call Cincinnati the city. We'd come into the city, so I have a lot of roots here and family. It's terrific. It's great to, go back to some of the restaurants, and I think we're going to continue to do that. We're going to, use vendors here, and
Sure.
just take advantage of this beautiful city and try to, show it in a great light for the rest of the country.
Why Emilio racing? Why horse racing? Why harness racing?
'Cause
Why
I love
that's
Why not?
That's your
I mean,
gig.
I love when you think about horse racing movies. Recently it's Secretariat
Mhm.
or Seabiscuit, but the sport of harness has never really been explored on film in a big way, in a commercial way. And I want to treat this like the Mighty Ducks franchise. In
Mhm.
other words, this is a family-friendly film.
Right.
There's no cursing or nudity or violence. This is a movie you can take your kids to, and it won't be a parent punisher. You can take and the parents can take their parents to.
Right.
So it's going to appeal. It's going to have a really, really broad appeal. But the idea is to create a successful film franchise and make part 2 and part 3 here as well.
How many screenplays have you written?
In my life?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. As far as films written that I've actually gotten
that
made,
you've written that you've made. Yeah.
4 that
4?
I've written and directed.
All right.
I've directed 2 additional ones that I have not
Okay.
written. Yeah.
Take me through, and again, this sounds like a dumb question, but I'm fascinated by the process of putting this on paper.
Right.
Now I'm going to make it a movie.
That's right.
Now we're going to go somewhere and film it, and we're going to bring in all these folks, and we're going to find actors, and we're going to find a crew. How long has this process taken you from the time you sat down to write it to sitting here with me
From the
today?
very first draft, 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
From the get go.
years, yeah.
Is that typical?
It is. When you think about how long it takes to get people interested in the project, and then you get distracted by other things. In that 10-year period, I've made 3 other movies.
Right.
But I've always felt that this was a really good piece of business.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the last 2 movies, I did a movie about the assassination of Bobby Kennedy
Mhm.
called Bobby.
Fantastic.
And that was a passion project. That's something that I'd wanted to do for years. And then I did a movie called The Way
Right.
that I directed my father in. And that was a family movie
Mhm.
in that it encompassed the use of the entire family to make that film. This movie is a really good piece of business,
Yeah.
if you follow. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it takes longer to get those pieces of businesses as projects made than the passion or the family or those other projects.
Where you're going to be filming this in Cincinnati, Johnny Longshot. Where have been your favorite places to make movies in the past?
I've shot a lot out in New Mexico.
Mhm.
I've shot in Chicago,
Yeah.
New York. Surprisingly, I haven't filmed that much in California, and there's a lot less production going on in California these days.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of runaway production going on in Louisiana and New Mexico. So the film incentives here are really encouraging. Kristen's office is doing a great job trying to encourage people to go. But there's a part of me that wants to be selfish, and
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to L.A. and I don't necessarily know if I want to tell everybody to come here, right? Now I don't want them to come here and exploit it because not everyone is going to treat the city like we're going to treat it. It's going to be filmed in a really positive light, and I don't want some of my buddies coming in here and blowing it,
Yeah.
right? And because they will.
Sure.
They
Well,
don't have the same.
Well-
They just don't have the same sensibilities that I do.
There was a great movie done here about 10 years ago, Michael Douglas, Traffic. And,
Sure,
And
great movie.
people from, it was a fantastic movie, but it was done here. And friends in other parts of the country that go, well, that looks like a really crummy place you live. And I go, there's good and bad to it, but it's consider the story, consider the context. And as you're talking about that, I'm thinking of the people that were like, I saw Cincinnati in that movie Traffic. I've never been there before, but is that what it's really like? And
Right. Right.
for some, I'm sure it is. So it does have an impact on how I think people view a city. And again, that was a fantastic movie. Kristen, do you guys recruit filmmakers? I mean, do you I don't know,
Yeah,
throw it out there and say, hey, come film this in Cincinnati?
Yeah, we market the city of Cincinnati to the film, television, and commercial industries because of the money that they come here and spend and because of the jobs that they create. And, Traffic was one of the first projects I worked on in this position.
Yeah.
And it actually shot at Walnut Hills High School, which is where I graduated from
Oh,
high
wow.
school. But they called it Country Day, which was magnificent disaster in this city. However, those films come across our desk, and there are a lot of scripts that we're trying to attract. But Cincinnati has also not always played Cincinnati. We've played New York. We've done 1920s Harlem and 30s Bronx, and
Yeah.
we've played Queens, and we've played Pittsburgh, and I think we even played Florida in a film. And if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm trying to expose to these people, these filmmakers that are here today, is that Cincinnati can play Cincinnati well, but we do have a lot of tremendous looks in this city within 15 minutes of downtown, and that's our selling kit when I'm in Los Angeles. Not only do we have a lot of looks close to downtown in a very congested area, you don't have to travel far to get a lot of different types of architecture and buildings, but you also have the people in Cincinnati to support it, and we have the crew and talent here to back up a motion picture. And this is going to be make or break it for us. They're giving us and entrusting us with a lot of responsibility on this film, and I think the people of Cincinnati are ready for it, and I think it's going to be really exciting for all of us.
And also look at what happens after the Rose Bowl every year. Shoots out in California, and what happens after people view the Rose Bowl is this enormous uptick of people moving into California, into LA specifically. So if we can, again, we're going to shoot here in the spring and summer. People are going to see Cincinnati looking beautiful at that time of the year, and hopefully it drives people to be interested in the area.
And it's not going to be a dated piece. It takes place
contemporary,
contemporary 2013.
That's right.
So when do you sort of get down to the nuts and bolts of actually filming?
I'm coming back in January,
Okay.
late January. We'll start prepping in earnest in February, and we think about the first week of April we'll start rolling. So we're gonna have a lot of time. The run up to this,
Mhm.
we're gonna have a lot of time because there's a lot of barns, there's a lot of horses involved, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving pieces.
So the minutia, the day in and day out logistics of it, star, director, you're all involved with
A lot of hats.
a lot of hats.
Yeah.
That sounds that's like a pretty fascinating process. I have to admit that sounds really cool. And the release is end of 2013 or maybe early 2014.
Yeah, it feels like a spring movie. Again, it's a movie about second chances. It's a movie about reinventing yourself, and springtime certainly is that time. For most of us.
Yeah.
So spring to 2014 could actually work very well for this.
A lot of information at filmcincinnati.com, trying to get a lot of local people involved. I guess it sounds like I'm fascinated by the process just sitting here listening to you talk about
You
it.
got to come out and visit while we're shooting.
I'd love to, man.
You
That
know,
would be
just see
that
what
would be
it's-
that would be awesome. Do you have?
We'll put you in a buggy.
That'd be that'd be terrifying. Had you ridden? Had you what you call it? Not
It's
a
a
harness.
sulky. It's a
sulky.
buggy.
Have
It's
you
a
ridden
or
one
bike.
before? Yeah.
I got a spin around one last October when I first came to Cincy.
Yeah.
And then this past October we went out to Scioto Downs and got a spin around the track with a trainer named Virgil Morgan
Okay.
Jr., who's a very well respected trainer, and he's invited me to come back and ride and drive again anytime I like. So it's going to require a lot of time in the bike,
Will you do, for lack of a better term, will you do your own stunts?
as much as Lisa will let me.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. So you've got to have jockeys stunt doubles.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I've got to think in this area that's probably something you can find. It's an amazingly dangerous sport. I've had a chance to go into locker rooms at River Downs and at Turfway,
Right.
and you see those guys after they've run 5 or 6 races in a day. And I've been in NFL locker rooms after games too. Those guys are beaten up.
That's right.
And they do it every single day.
They do it every time, and multiple times, and they get under $50 per mount.
Wow.
I mean, they get nothing,
Yeah.
and are risking their lives. Now they get a little more if they win. They get a
Sure.
piece of the purse, but yeah, they're kind of unsung heroes unless you're the guys that are going to the Derby and the Belmont and Preakness.
Yeah. FilmCincinnati.com is the place you can learn more about the shooting of Johnny Longshot. Emilio Estevez in studio along with Kristen Irwin and Lisa Niedenthal here. Well, good luck. I mean, I
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
can't
brother.
wait to see from conception to it being put in practice, and then obviously up on the big screen. It's
Do you
gonna
do
be
remotes
fascinating.
as well? Do you go out and do remotes
Absolutely,
from?
yeah.
Well, come on out.
Done.
I think
In.
yeah, please
That'd be
come on out
fascinating.
and it'll be a lot of fun.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
great to meet you.
Nice to
love
see
your
you.
work and going. I mean, I've seen The Breakfast Club 8 billion times.
Really?
To the point that like my younger producer, like whenever I mention a movie, from when I was a kid, she looks at me like I have three heads. And I told her, I said, you have to go see not go see it. You have to see The Breakfast Club. And she looked at me like I was.
Were you the jock when you were a kid?
No,
Really?
I was more the Anthony Michael Hall.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was not I wasn't even close to the jock. I wanted to be you, but I was the nerd. So great to meet you.
Thank you, man.
And
Nice
good to see you, Lisa
Thank
and Kristen. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
up. And all the information's at filmcincinnati.com. 5 minutes away from 4 o'clock, the Marvin Lewis press conference coming up in 10 minutes. And Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz at 4:20 on ESPN 1530.